something that basically took my husband and my partner and our intimacy, but the intimacy in all ways away. It was worse than another woman because it wasn't even a person.
It felt like I was having an affair with myself.
All right, what's going on, Reboot team? Chris here with yet another testimonial, but we've got a special one on our hands today. I am with somebody who has made tremendous strides in their reboot and in their growth. I'm with my friend Jamie, but he comes to us today not alone. He is with his missus. We are with both Jamie and Lila. Good to see you both. Appreciate you both. And how you guys doing today, first of all?
Good, Chris. Good, Chris. Thank you.
Good.
Good to be here.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you. Like I said before we started recording, I think hearing both of your perspectives is really, really important for a lot of guys out there who might be, going through similar struggles, but are trying to do something about it, right? So let's start from the very beginning. First of all, you and I, Jamie, had a testimonial call and we got to hear a little bit about your story, but I'd love to hear a little bit about like how life was going, before you joined the program, both sort of individually and as a couple.
Yeah, well, for me, of course, I'm sure I've let this known in a lot of the Zoom calls and stuff like that, but I'd reached a point in my life where my pornography addiction was taking over. It was taking over as far as intimacy and running my life, and I couldn't get it under control, which is the same issue I had with alcohol at one point in my life, and I knew I had to do something about it. And my wife and I obviously had our struggles with it, with my addiction, my behavior, over 30 years of marriage. So uh, it came to a head, which it did many times before without me, doing what needed to be done. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a program like the one I'm in now, Chris. I tried with doctors and professionals and stuff like that, but unfortunately, never found one that was very knowledgeable about the pornography addiction. That was the struggle, was to find somebody. When I heard one day, and it was after a fight that we had, I heard JK on a podcast from a university here in Ottawa, and he was talking. I dialed the number and found the program, and ended up talking to GT, and basically went back to my wife because I wasn't going to make the financial investment without her knowing, because we are married and we are, together. So I told her, look, this is what I need to do. That they have the professionals in place, they have the program, the tools, and it's all the kind of structure that I need in order to understand A, my behavior, and B, how to fix it. So that's kind of where I came from. That's my side of the story, but now you'll hear hers.
Yeah. So here we have Jamie, clearly kind of like, as we like to say in the program, kind of like struggling in silence, sort of like that. I understand like something's going on, not quite sure what the next best move is, and sort of like in this sort of indecisive sort of icicle, right? But around that time, before Jamie decided to join the program and stuff and make some healthy changes, how are you doing?
Me?
Yeah.
Obviously, yes. Well, really, I think that, because it is a secret, I was unaware. I mean, there were times, obviously, throughout the years where, you come across something or you suspect something, and then, it's a blow up. And that was the cycle, was no, 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 it's over. I'm done with it. I feel better. And then you're, always hopeful, of course, because you love the person and you want them. And it's not only for yourself, it's for them. There were times when, I would say to him when, because I was leaving. I did leave. Well, it was like for 2 weeks, but, I wanted to leave because really because of the secrets, because of not you're living with somebody but you really don't know what is involved in their life. Because when you're with somebody, you expect that you're open, they're open, but really you realize that you're living with someone that has a whole separate life that you're not a part of, you're not included in, and not that I wanted to be included in it. I didn't. And really by this point, in my life and my life with Jamie, I wanted nothing to do with it. Like there would not be any kind of, oh, well, let's do this. No, to me, it was just basically, um, something that basically took my husband and my partner, and our intimacy, but the intimacy in all ways
Yeah.
away. It might as well have been another woman, you know. In fact, it was worse than another woman because it wasn't even a person.
I thank you for sharing all of that. It's a common tale and a common perspective that I hear, and yeah, I appreciate you illustrating that. And fast forward a little bit, here he is sort of like, in the program, new set of structure, new set of routines, and here he is only within his first year. I know what kind of changes I've seen, but I'm very curious. Lila, I'll throw it toward you as well. Like, what have been some of the changes, improvements, energy change, whatever you happen to have noticed, within the last year?
Well, definitely energy change, wanting to be involved more, wanting to participate more, better mood for sure. And I think because he feels better about himself, he is more approachable.
Hmm.
And yeah, just wanting to be more involved in everything, more just taking an interest in our family, our grandchildren, just life in general, instead of sort of, well, for me again, because I didn't know what went behind closed doors, that he's there now, where before, oh, well, I have to do this, and I'm going off to, blah blah blah, whatever. Now he's just there, like you would expect your partner to be.
Right. And I can completely relate, having been through, my own, compulsive behavior related struggles too. That's something that had been shared with me. It's like, yeah, you're in the room, but you're not
Yeah,
really in the room. I have been there. I've been in that
yeah.
pair of shoes. So, but, that sort of comparison from, from one way to just being in the room to being present. I mean, Jamie, like, how does
Yeah.
it feel to like hear that?
Well, I think it's just very gratifying, Chris, in the sense that it's being noticed, because that is the way I feel now. We say in the program, and it's been told to me many times before, you need to first forgive yourself. You can't keep, beating yourself up. You have to move forward. In order to move forward, you have to forgive yourself. So that was the most difficult part, is to actually believe that you're worth fixing, that you're a human being, as Dr. Rankin likes to say, being human and being a being. And it's through all those things for me that I'm looking at a different perspective in my life. I look at just how much time was wasted with pornography, the secrecy and all that other garbage that had to be hidden. And now that I don't spend all my energy on that, I have so much more energy to do the more important things in life, which really are the more important things in life. When you're stuck in the addiction, no matter what the addiction is, you can't see that. You just can't see that carrot at the end of the stick. You can't catch it. But I am catching it now. Now I have that carrot firmly in my hand, and I'm taking bites out of it.
Yeah.
And it's a great feeling. It is a great feeling. It's a very fulfilling feeling. And we say it all the time, trying to make you be the best person you can be. And my wife Lila and I talked about that this morning. And that's what I want to be. I want to be the best person I can be. And there's lots of hurt that I still have over the way I've treated her, the way our relationship has been. Um, I feel it every day, and I know I can't do a lot to fix that. I can only be better and try to be that person that she said I do too.
Hmm.
So that's where I'm at. I'm every day trying to improve that, to be there, to be for everybody, like she said, my family, my friends, my group, everybody. If I can be there in any way, shape, or form, I want to be. I want to give back because I now am in a position to do that, where before it was more about me than anybody else.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, Lila, any thoughts about that?
Well, just as Jamie was talking, I feel like it's really a freedom. You're free of that, the chains. It's just you're free in every way, that when you talk to your partner, that they're giving you a true response, or you believe it. I mean, at the beginning you're like, yeah, you've said this to me how many times throughout the years. And even though of course you're angry and you're hurt, really, in the end, for me anyway, I mean, I do love Jamie, and I would want him, even if we were not together, for
Mm.
him to fix himself, because who would want to live with that? I mean, even if you were single, who wants to live with that feeling that, you need that all the time, or that is going to be basically your life, your focus is, that
Pornography.
addiction.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want that for him, even if we were divorcing. I would want him to be whole and to feel good about himself, even if we didn't end up staying together, because, I do love him, and he was just putting us in a position that, I just wasn't willing to continue my life with all of that secrecy, all of that, his focus being, and then his anger. Because of course, you're like, well, why are you, I remember him years ago, my daughter and I used to go off to horse shows on the weekend, and I'd have my stuff by the door, and he'd have my car packed up, and you know um like a airplane made out of paper, and I was like, whoa, and he'd kiss me goodbye and shove me out the door, basically, even though it was like, oh, look, I packed your car for you. And I'd leave thinking, my God, I feel like he wants to get rid of me.
I still do though, so that hasn't changed.
And then I thought, oh, on the other hand, oh, that was so nice, that he packed us all up and sent us away with a kiss. But then afterwards, you come home, and we were building a house well, we've been building a house for just about 30 years. And
Right.
then I'd come home and say to him, oh, well, nicely, well, what did you do this weekend? Well, what do you mean? What did I do? And he'd, be
Defensive. Yeah.
defensive. And I think, okay, but really, what's been done? Nothing, or next to nothing. But that was him just trying to hide the fact that he was busy all weekend.
Sure. For mapping it out. And like I said before, I think it's a really important sort of perspective to sort of garner. But I do have a question, regarding, we had talked about, or you had mentioned, Lila, that 2 week period, right? Where you had kind of like stepped away, like, do I want to be a part of this? I'm curious, like, I'm sure it wasn't just a single moment, but what were some of the things that, after that 2 week period that said, you know what, this is still worth pursuing, and I see improvements being made, and I see like actions finally following words. Like, what sort of like drew you back?
Well, again, we've been together when we are good friends. We do spend all of our time together. We, besides the crappy parts, I mean, we do things together. We play games, and we're each other's sort of best friends. And I think it was just, I think the hope, again, and I mean, I said it so many times over the years, like, this is the last time I'm telling you now, you know but
And of
that,
course I would break that.
yes. And then it was, and then in the end, I mean, in the end, your own heart starts to separate, like, it doesn't matter, you're just continuing on, or you've let me down again. And it's not even, when I say let me down, it's just, be honest, if you're going to continue on, just tell me. If that's your choice, then tell me, but don't take both. Don't lie to me when I'm being hopeful and open and willing to talk and everything. And now, now you've just lied to me again. And that's the biggest thing, is just that you're living in deceit. And I wouldn't do that with any of my friends or any of my family or anybody at all. I just wanted my own peace. Um, and so, but, and with the program too, at first, I thought, what, like, but, he was set on it and he did go to AA, and AA also helped him. And it's not just, um, it's broad. It's more a lifestyle change. It's not just fixing this one problem, it's a whole lifestyle change.
Mm.
And so I thought, okay, well, and then I noticed the difference in him as far as, getting up in the morning and having a plan for the day, and I'm going to work on this, and then coming home from work and this was accomplished, and him feeling a bit better about himself. And like he said too, going to doctors who tried to diagnose him as, well, you have this issue, and then go to someone else, well, you have this issue. Nobody knew what they were talking about.
They did.
And then you start thinking, oh, well, I have this condition or this personality, whatever, and you start investigating that. But it really is a whole person change. It's a whole lifestyle, a whole different focus change that is needed,
Mm.
because you have to treat the whole person and their in their life, and not just a specific symptom.
Yeah, no, I love the way you articulated that. And that is the nature of, the recovery world. It's not the thing, but the place from which it's coming from, right? It's
Mhm.
like you said, like whether it's the compulsive behavior, it's a branch on the tree, not necessarily the root, right? And I love that you articulated that, and I think it's so important for people to hear. And I'm very curious, with this type of work that's being done, from where you were to kind of like where things are now. Like obviously, like they're not every day is sunny in spring, but as far as the openness, right? As far as the
Mhm.
communication, as far as the realness, I'm very curious, for both of you, anybody can take the floor. I'm curious, like this type of work, like how has it improved your relationship?
Well, I think, like you said, not every day is sunny, but in the end, we're still partners. So we still trust each other, and that's the most important thing. As long as we have each other's backs, then I mean, really, we could get irritated maybe with each other. That might last like literally a few seconds, but we really get along very well. And
She laughs. She
we
laughs.
we can tell each other where to go, and then smile and kiss each other goodbye and continue on. I mean, it's just life. So yeah, I think that we're there's a freedom. Again, that's the only thing I can say, is that there's no that you don't have to second guess or question what the motives are about decisions made. It just is honesty, I guess.
Mm. Jamie, how about thank you for sharing that. I love that. That freedom is back. That man, Jamie,
Yeah.
like what about you? Like what sort of
Well,
improvements? Yeah.
yeah, it, it's absolutely true. And, again, I can't say enough about, the doctors and the reboot heroes and how you continue to, make sure how you doing. You're reaching out. Everybody stays in such close contact that when I get up in the morning and I read a story from Adam or maybe it's going to be Andrew or somebody else in the program, you read these things, it just brings the struggle back. It brings the struggle back and it makes you understand, okay, this is what I need. Morning routine. Lila's talked about it. I have my routines now. I get up, I do my thing, and I have a direction and a forgiveness. I can't emphasize that enough. I mention it a lot in some of the Zoom calls now, but without forgiving myself, I couldn't move forward. I could not move forward. I was stuck in that dark place where I felt I wasn't worth it. And whether that came from childhood or traumas, going through Dr. Eastman and, and understanding that kind of stuff and how it shapes you, it has made me become, I think, a more whole person, which has allowed us to have that better relationship and a more honest relationship. The one thing I can tell you that she once said to me was that it felt like I was having an affair with myself when she talked about my pornography addiction. It's like
Mm.
you're having an affair with yourself because I was self-soothing. I was doing it all for me. There was no partner there. And that is a hurt for me that is extremely difficult to talk about. And it's extremely difficult to move past. But I am slowly with the program realizing that I need to forgive myself for that and become better. So again, this program has allowed me to do that where, psychiatrists in the past haven't, or psychotherapists, or whatever I did. They couldn't do it. What I
Mm.
needed was people who were from the same neck of the woods, in the same feel it's better. I mean, I know it's better. I don't even have to tell you I feel it, but understanding feelings has been huge for me. Absolutely huge. Like that stop, observe, breathe, expand, resolve. Wait, what am I thinking? Like some of these things come to me every single day, and I go, okay, like I said before, play the tape to the end.
Yeah.
What happens if you decide to act out? What happens if, like you take that before I would never do that. I would just say, you know what? I need to self-soothe, and I self-soothe because I was under stress or duress or whatever.
Right.
But I can deal with it in different ways, which, now my toolbox, when I open it, there's stuff in there. There wasn't stuff in there before.
I feel so mushy. Like, no, genuinely, like I'm so encouraged. I'm genuinely so encouraged, and I thank you both for your insight, and I thank you both for your story. And before we start, wrapping up, saying goodbye, I mean, if somebody happens to, come across this conversation, then odds are pretty high that either they or their partner or a loved one might be still, talking about that neck of the woods. They might still be kind of like in the dark parts
Hmm.
of it, right?
Yep. Yep.
And I'd be curious from both your perspectives, for somebody who might be struggling themselves, or maybe, a spouse who they know is struggling, or a loved one. Is there anything that you might want to say to that particular person?
Well, I would say if you want change and you have to want it, then I would just say try it. I mean, really, again, and he's always talking about the cost of things. It doesn't matter in the end because it's going to cost you the rest of your life.
That's right.
It's going to cost you your marriage. It's going to cost you all those days wasted that you could have been feeling good. And even if I would say, even if you end up that the hurt is too harsh, too much for the couple, and they are going to split, it still doesn't matter. You have to do it for yourself. And I would want that for Jamie. Even if we were going to split up, I would want him to feel better. And he should feel better. I think, honestly, the pornography now in the world with the kids coming and, what they get exposed to on the internet, it's, it's, it's beyond terrible.
Yeah.
It's more than an epidemic. It's a loss of sort of not humanity as a whole, but sort of,
It's a degradation, eh?
yeah, it's degrading people in so many ways and everybody involved in it. Yeah, and I think for people to sit behind and say, oh well, some of those people want to do it. Nobody wants to be acting like that. Nobody wants to be, really, if they had a choice, would they be
Yeah.
doing something else
Yeah.
that, maybe it's money, whatever.
Right.
But I think that the whole idea of it is terrible, and what it's leading to is terrible.
Jamie, how about you?
Well, for me, it's again, and I've mentioned it to a few of the brothers, but Lila has said it. If you love the person you're with, and you truly love them with everything you've got, they're your soulmate, you will do whatever it takes to get to be
Wow.
that better person. Like Lila said, it's not the cost. Yes, it put us in a bit of a position, like we're not wealthy, but it's been worth every penny because of it, because of what comes at the end of it. If you're willing to be accountable and do the work, you will come out on the other end a stronger, better person. So, like for people that are struggling as couples, you have to support. I have the support of her. I've always had the support of her, and I understand that. And that goes a long way in a relationship, both ways, because she has struggles, and I'm there to support her. And if you're like that, then the sky's the limit. You can go places, and it's worth fighting for if the two of you are connected and you're like best friends and soulmates, which we are. There's nothing not worth fighting for. That's my look at
I just want to say
it.
when Jamie said, because in the end, it doesn't matter, even in the end, it's the first day.
Mhm.
You try that first day, you're going to start to feel better. Even just for the fact that you're trying.
Yeah.
And you're going to, with your spouse, if this is geared towards with your spouse, that first day, you're trying that first day, and you're going to feel better that first day just because you tried,
Mm.
you know?
So good. Thank you so much for your insight. Like, you guys are like I'm so encouraged. Like, you guys are a team, and Jamie, of course, we've talked a bunch. I'm very happy and so encouraged from your own growth and progress and your increased sense of openness and clearly putting in the work and reaping the benefits. But now it's just become a three-dimensional image. You know what I mean? So thank you both for your
Right
insight.
on.
Give her a hug, man. Like she's yeah, there we go. Come on now. You guys are awesome.
That's
Well,
my girl.
that's right. That's absolutely right. Well, all the best to you guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, your insight, and enjoy yourselves, okay?